There are some NASCAR drivers who have incredible careers. There are some who become champions. And then there are some drivers who make you wonder, what if? What if everything had gone just a little differently? What if the right team stayed together? What if the timing had been different? And what if injuries, health problems, circumstances outside the driver's control hadn't gotten in the way? For me, Kasey Kahne is the biggest what if NASCAR has ever seen. And that's because when Kasey Kahne entered NASCAR's top series in 2004, it didn't take long to realize that this guy was something special. And by the time his career was over, he had 18 Cup wins, 27 poles, 3 Coke 600 wins, a Brickyard 400 victory, and a career-best 4th place finish in the championship. But somehow, it still feels like he left something on the table. So how did one of NASCAR's most naturally talented drivers go from being one of the sport's brightest young stars to walking away from full-time NASCAR racing at only age 38? Let's go back to the beginning. Kasey Kahne wasn't originally destined for NASCAR. He grew up in Washington and was racing sprint cars at just 14 years old. And he wasn't simply good, he was ridiculously good. Kasey Kahne had worked his way through open-wheel racing and eventually became a standout in USAC. In 2000, he won the USAC Midget Championship. He also won the prestigious night before the 500 race at Indianapolis twice, joining some very elite company. It was becoming obvious that Kahne had the kind of raw talent that could take him somewhere. And that somewhere was NASCAR. When NASCAR came calling, Kahne moved into what was then the Busch Series, now known as the O'Reilly Series. In 2003, he won the season finale at Homestead. That win helped set the stage for what was about to happen. Because in 2004, Kasey Kahne was getting to the big leagues. The rookie who almost won. Kahne joined Ray Evernham's organization and took over the famous number 9 Dodge. And nobody really knew exactly what to expect, but it did not take long for people to notice him. And even though he did not win a Cup race in 2004, that doesn't tell the whole story. He finished second 5 times during his rookie season. 5. He finished the year with 13 top 5s, 4 poles, and a 13th place in the point standing. And of course, he won Rookie of the Year. Think about that for a second. A rookie walks into NASCAR's premier division and immediately starts running up front, over and over again. It wasn't a matter of if he could win, it felt like a matter of when. And in 2005, he answered that question. At Richmond, Kasey earned his first Cup win, and he did it by beating one of the greatest drivers of his generation, one of the greatest drivers ever, Tony Stewart. The kid from Washington had officially arrived. But in 2006, that's when everything changed. If you truly want to understand why people believed that Kasey Kahne could become a NASCAR champion, look at 2006. He won 6 races that season. 6. He won more Cup races than Jimmy Johnson did that year. He won Atlanta, Texas, Charlotte, Loudon, Daytona, and Michigan. And 3 of those victories came in the summer stretch where Kasey looked almost unstoppable. He would go on to finish 8th in the championship standings, and suddenly, NASCAR had a new superstar. The number 9 Dodge was everywhere. Kahne was young, he was fast, and he was incredibly marketable. Fans loved him. It seemed like NASCAR had found its next big star. But that's where the story gets a little bit complicated. Because despite all of Kahne's talent, the consistency was not always there. After that incredible 2006 season, Kahne's career became a roller coaster. In 2007, he won 0 races. Then came 2008. He bounced back with 2 victories. In 2009, he won twice again. But the bigger problem wasn't whether he could win. He clearly could. The problem was putting everything together over an entire championship season. His teams were changing, organizations were changing, and the stability that many championship caliber drivers need wasn't always there. Eventually, Richard Petty Motorsports became a part of his story. Then came Red Bull in 2011, and despite the constant changes around him, Kahne would continue proving that he belonged. Then Rick Hendrick came calling, and this was supposed to be the moment. Kahne's move to Hendrick Motorsports was announced long before he actually climbed into the number 5 Chevrolet. That's how badly Rick Hendrick wanted it. Think about the expectations that come with that. You're not just joining another NASCAR team. You're joining one of the greatest organizations in the history of the sport. And in 2012, Kahne delivered. He won the Coca-Cola 600, then he won the second Pocono race. He also would finish 4th in the championship standings. That remains the best championship finish of his career. And honestly, this might be the season that best represents the Kasey Kahne we all thought could become a champion. He had speed, he had wins, and for the first time, he had consistency. And he had Hendrick Motorsports behind him. For a moment, it looked like pieces were finally in place. But unfortunately, it never quite reached the level that we expected. Kahne remained competitive at Hendrick. He won races in 2013. He won again in 2014. But after 2014, something changed. The victories became harder to find. The competition was getting tougher. And Hendrick Motorsports was loaded with talent. Jimmy Johnson was winning championships. Jimmy was winning everything. Dale Jr. was winning races. Jeff Gordon was still there and still winning. And Kasey Kahne found himself in an organization where the expectations were enormous. Then came 2017. And just when people were beginning to wonder if Kahne's best days were behind him, he wins the Brickyard 400 at Indy, one of the biggest races in NASCAR. Kahne would hold off Brad Keselowski in the closing laps and secure one of the most memorable victories of his career. And suddenly, there was another reminder of just how good this guy could be. But there was also a problem. The win wasn't enough to completely change the direction of his career. Kahne was out of the Hendrick car after the 2017 season, and in 2018 he moved to Levine Family Racing. Unfortunately, that season would be his last. Kahne announced August of 2018 that he planned to step away from full-time racing in NASCAR. At the time, he was only 38 years old, and that caught everybody off guard, because Kahne still had opportunity. He still had teams interested in him, but he didn't feel like he could give NASCAR everything it required anymore. Then came a frightening situation at Darlington. After the Southern 500, Kahne would suffer from heat exhaustion and dehydration. The effects were serious enough that doctors recommend he stop racing while they evaluate the situation. Eventually, Kahne decided not to return for the remainder of the season. And just like that, his full-time career was over. 15 seasons, 529 Cup starts, 18 victories, 93 top 5s, 176 top 10s, 27 poles, 3 Coke 600 wins, a Brickyard 400 win, but no championship. And that's the part that makes Kasey Kahne's career so fascinating. Kasey Kahne is one of those drivers where the stats don't tell the entire story, because 18 wins is very respectable. But if you watched him race in the mid-2000s, you remember something different. You remember the potential. You remember the red number 9 Dodge. You remember the poles. You remember all those second place finishes. You remember 2006. And you remember thinking, this guy's going to be a champion someday. But NASCAR doesn't always work like that. Sometimes talent isn't enough. Sometimes timing matters more. Sometimes the right team doesn't stay together. Sometimes the car isn't there. And sometimes life simply takes you in another direction. Kahne would ultimately return to his roots in sprint car racing after leaving NASCAR full time. And honestly, that feels fitting. Because before he was a NASCAR star, he was a dirt track racer. That's where his love for racing began, and that's where he continues racing today. So how should Kasey Kahne be remembered? As a driver who didn't reach his full potential? Maybe. But I think there's another way to look at it. Kahne was a legitimate NASCAR star. He won for multiple organizations, and he won some of the biggest races in the sport. He had a season where he won 6 times. He finished fourth in the championship and was one of the most recognizable drivers of his generation. He was also named one of NASCAR's top 75 greatest drivers. And when you look back at the list of drivers who are on that, that's pretty impressive company. Could he have won a championship? Absolutely. Could he have won 30 or even 40 races if everything had lined up differently? We'll never know. But that's exactly what makes his career so interesting. Because Kasey Kahne was not a failure, not even close. He was a driver who gave us flashes of greatness and left us wondering just how much more there could have been. And maybe that's the perfect way to remember him. Not as the driver who never won a championship, but as the driver who made an entire generation of NASCAR fans believe he eventually would. And sometimes, the careers that leave us wondering what if are the ones we remember the most.